behind. Me.
Everybody raise your hands.
And everybody raise your hands. Okay.
It's 10. Attention, please. Katie Block is President and CEO of the Humane Society of the United States and also the CEO of the Humane Society internationally. In April of 2024, she wrote, "In the face of incredible suffering, danger to public health and waste of animal life seen on these fur farms, we are calling once again for everybody to step up and put a stop to the fur trade." In the next few minutes, I'd like to suggest to you that we ban fur farms, specifically fox fur farms. Harboring foxes in harsh environments just to be able to obtain an outfit, a coat, is not fun for them or nice. From my research, there are still to this day a lot of suffering animals being bred only for their fur. There are many other means of obtaining a fashionably article of clothing other than an animal's suffering. Putting an end to fur farms needs your attention because these animals are living harsh environments and they are not getting the adequate care to avoid the diseases from passing around, even to us. First, we will look at the living situation and its impact on these poor animals. And second, we will look at how proper care is needed for the welfare of these animals. Now that we know what's coming up, let's learn a little bit more regarding these fur farms' living situations. Oh, it's so cold. Fur farms' harsh living environment shortens an animal's lifespan and shows these creatures that are cramped and shoved into these tiny little kennels. Not even kennels, they're like cages. Usually the capacity for a fox, usually a fox's lifespan in the wild is 3 years, but in captivity they can live much longer. I have a fox and she is officially 6 years old. In these animal farms, their lifespan is way less. So we're looking at, they are born, let's say in October, and they're killed by October. They're fattened up and then they're put into these tight little cages on top of each other inside their own little fecal matter and hardly any food. They're just pumped up with hormones to make their bodies get bigger. And then their fur, come October, is nice and luscious and they're plump and fat. Katie Block is President and CEO of the Humane Society states again, November of 2021 this go around, the investigation found on foxes in small cages suffering with deformed feet, diseased eyes, and missing ears. So why would you need ears if you're just going to cut off your fur? 2 of these farms held monster foxes who are bred with huge pelts and they have rolls all over their bodies just to look all fat and plump. And they can't even walk. They're just giant foxy potatoes. These animals showed signs of self-mutilation, a common symptom and that has psychological trauma. So they will hurt themselves because they're mentally not right in the head because they're in such a small confinement on top of each other. They need proper enrichment items and freedom to move, run and exercise in these natural as you can environments if you're going to have them in captivity. Being forced to live in such close quarters causes all sorts of issues for these foxes. Katie Block, the CEO of the Humane Society, in November of 2021, investigators found that foxes in small barrier cages suffering from deformed feet, diseased eyes, and missing ears. Across the world, more than 100 million animals are killed for their fur every year, both in fur farms through trapping in the wild. This is equivalent to 3 animals dying every second just for fashion. These fur farms has these foxes in small wire crates on top of each other, and it's beyond cruel. My research showed that a single fox is needed a 10 by 10 enclosure, 10 foot by 10 foot enclosure with nourishment items, enrichment items, as well as food and water to avoid sickness and disease. We have discussed the impact of improper living situations for these foxes. Now let's focus on the proper care that is needed for these animals. Taking care of a fox is hard work. The care needed to avoid disease is essential for their well-being, and they're only being killed in the end. So why would they focus on that? A fox is not much different from having any other exotic pet. With proper diet and exercise regimen, they can live a happy, successful life. Smarty Malparty with the news article Nature, September 2024, wrote, a study finds viruses that could infect people are rampant in fur farms, breeding foxes for their fur. She also states, it should be common knowledge that life on a fur farm is no life at all. Animals born on fur farms spend their entire lives cramped in unsanitary cages with no meaningful enrichment, socialization, or basic veterinary care. Outbreaks such as COVID have been documented in many fur farms in 12 different countries, in Europe and North America since 2020. So that means those foxes are passing COVID back and forth because they're on top of each other, and then they're getting in the fur, and then the fur's getting sold to everybody, getting COVID. Cruel confinement methods make these wild animals particularly susceptible to disease. I'm sorry, I'm so cold. These cages are also often kept outside, which means disease can spread between captive creatures easily. Even if it's not just foxes, they could be next to a minx or next to a raccoon, and now they're diseased. Proper care is not the only part needed for a healthy fox, but why would it matter to a fur farm if they're killed not long after birth? Kitty Block, President and CEO of the Humane Society, internationally CEO as well, October 2024, foxes enjoy constant access to nutritious foods and clean water, protection from predators, extreme weather, and veterinary care. Farm foxes generally euthanized using specially designed unit produces an electrical current to them, so they shock them to kill them. A fox reaches maturity typically around 10 months, and these fur farms await their winter coats to plump up in order to shock them to their death. Furrier coats. Breeding an animal just for their pelt and nothing more in such a harsh condition is nothing but cruel and needs to be stopped. Now that we have gone over the devastating information regarding these animals living in environments and continually continuity of care, let's end this. In conclusion, in the last few minutes, I suggested to you that we ban fur farming. Harboring animals in such harsh living environments is cruel and unfair to them and to their caretakers that have to endure that suffering just for an article of clothing. There are many other means to obtaining fashionably warm article of clothing. No reason for an animal to suffer like the fur trade does. Putting an end to the fur farms needs your attention because these animals are living in harsh environments and they are not getting the adequate medical care or treatment that is needed. Kitty Block is President and CEO of the Humane Society of the United States and internationally, April 24, 2024, wrote, in the face of incredible suffering, danger to public and animal waste life seen on these fur farms, we are calling once again for a global end to the fur trade. Thanks.
Yay.
Was that serious enough?